Ferruccio Lamborghini walked into Enzo Ferrari's office in Maranello, carrying a complaint about the clutch in his Ferrari 250 GT. Lamborghini wasn't just another wealthy customer. He was a successful industrialist who manufactured tractors and had built a fortune selling agricultural equipment across Italy. He owned multiple Ferraris and understood mechanical engineering intimately. The clutch was failing repeatedly, and Lamborghini recognized the problem. The components Ferrari used were inferior and couldn't handle the engine's power. Enzo Ferrari listened to the complaint, then delivered a response that would cost him dearly. "You may be able to drive a tractor, but you will never be able to handle a Ferrari properly." The dismissal wasn't just about the clutch. It was a wealthy industrialist telling another wealthy industrialist that he didn't belong in the exclusive world of sports cars. Lamborghini left that meeting and made a decision. Within 4 months, he had established Automobili Lamborghini. Within 3 years, he had created the Miura, a car that automotive journalists called the most beautiful and fastest production car ever built. Within a decade, Lamborghini had established his brand as Ferrari's equal in performance and superior in refinement. The tractor maker had built a supercar empire out of spite, proving that sometimes the greatest motivation isn't profit, but revenge. This is how an insult created one of the world's most legendary automotive brands. The story of how Ferruccio Lamborghini created Automobili Lamborghini as a direct challenge to Enzo Ferrari and Ferrari S.P. represents one of the most personal and dramatic competitive rivalries in automotive history. Understanding this rivalry requires examining not just the cars, but the men who created them, the post-war Italian economic context that made both companies possible, and the technical and cultural differences that distinguished Lamborghini's approach from Ferrari's. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born in 1916 in Renazzo di Cento, a small farming community in the Emilia-Romagna region of northern Italy. His family owned a small farm, and Ferruccio grew up around agricultural equipment and tractors. The region was Italy's agricultural heartland, and farming dominated the local economy. Young Ferruccio showed more interest in the mechanical aspects of farming than in farming itself, fascinated by engines, transmissions, and the machinery that was beginning to transform Italian agriculture. The education Lamborghini received was practical and technical rather than academic. He attended technical school in Bologna, studying industrial mechanics and learning skills that would prove invaluable when he later started manufacturing. The Italian technical education system emphasized hands-on training, producing graduates who could actually build and repair machinery rather than just understanding theoretical principles. Lamborghini's education gave him deep knowledge of metallurgy, machining, engine design, and manufacturing processes. World War II interrupted Lamborghini's early career and inadvertently provided additional technical training. He served in the Italian Royal Air Force as a mechanic, stationed initially in Rhodes and later captured by British forces. His experience maintaining military vehicles and aircraft under difficult conditions taught him to improvise, to repair equipment with limited resources, and to understand mechanical systems at a fundamental level. These skills would prove crucial when he later started his business career. The post-war Italian economy was devastated, but also presented enormous opportunities for entrepreneurs who could identify unmet needs and who had the technical skills to address them. Agriculture was Italy's economic foundation, but Italian farms were severely under-mechanized compared to American or Northern European farms. Most Italian farmers still used animal power and hand tools for work that tractors could accomplish far more efficiently. The farmer who could afford a tractor gained enormous productivity advantages, but tractors were expensive and were dominated by imported brands. Lamborghini's first business venture in 1948 involved converting surplus military vehicles into agricultural tractors. The Italian countryside was littered with abandoned military equipment, trucks, half-tracks, scout cars that could be purchased for almost nothing. Lamborghini bought these vehicles, stripped them for parts, and used the engines, transmissions, and other components to build tractors. He sold these improvised tractors to farmers at prices far below what imported tractors cost, creating immediate demand. The success of this initial venture provided capital and market knowledge that allowed Lamborghini to transition from converting military surplus to manufacturing original tractors. By 1949, he had established Lamborghini Trattori and was designing and building tractors specifically for Italian agricultural conditions. The company grew rapidly through the 1950s as Italian agriculture mechanized and as Lamborghini's reputation for reliable, affordable tractors spread. By the late 1950s, Lamborghini Trattori was one of Italy's largest tractor manufacturers, producing thousands of units annually. The diversification into other businesses followed as Lamborghini's wealth grew. He established a company manufacturing oil burners for heating systems, another post-war growth market as Italian buildings modernized. He invested in air conditioning manufacturing as that technology became commercially viable. Each of these ventures succeeded, making Lamborghini progressively wealthier and giving him experience managing multiple businesses simultaneously. By the early 1960s, Lamborghini was a millionaire several times over, with business interests generating substantial cash flow. The passion for sports cars developed alongside business success, as Lamborghini could afford to indulge his interest in high-performance automobiles. He purchased multiple Ferraris, Maseratis, and Mercedes-Benz sports cars, driving them enthusiastically and maintaining them himself when possible. Lamborghini wasn't a casual owner who simply enjoyed driving fast cars. He studied them mechanically, understanding how they were engineered and where they could be improved. This technical analysis would inform his later decision to build his own cars. The Ferrari ownership experience was mixed. The cars were beautiful and fast, with engineering that Lamborghini respected, but they were also temperamental, required constant maintenance, and had what Lamborghini considered unnecessary compromises that made them less refined than they should be. The interiors were sparse and uncomfortable. The clutches wore quickly and were difficult to operate smoothly. The engines were powerful but noisy and rough. Ferrari built race cars adapted for the road, but Lamborghini believed sports cars should be civilized grand touring machines. The specific incident that catalyzed Lamborghini's decision to challenge Ferrari is disputed in details but consistent in outline. Lamborghini experienced repeated clutch failures in his Ferrari 250 GT. Upon investigation, he discovered that Ferrari was using clutch components identical to those Lamborghini used in his tractors, components that cost a fraction of what Ferrari charged for replacement parts. When Lamborghini complained to Enzo Ferrari about both the failures and the markup, Ferrari's dismissive response, suggesting that a tractor manufacturer couldn't properly handle a Ferrari, insulted Lamborghini deeply. The decision to build his own sports car company wasn't purely emotional revenge, though that element was certainly present. Lamborghini saw a genuine market opportunity. Ferrari dominated the high-performance sports car market, but focused primarily on racing and on cars that prioritized track performance over road refinement. Lamborghini believed there was demand for a different kind of sports car, one that offered Ferrari-level performance but with better build quality, more comfort, greater reliability, and less temperamental behavior. He would create a grand touring car for sophisticated drivers who wanted performance without race car compromises. The timing in 1963 was favorable for several reasons. The Italian economy was booming in what historians call the economic miracle of the 1950s and 1960s. Wealthy Italians and international buyers had money for luxury goods, including exotic sports cars. The technical talent to design and build such cars was available in the Modena region where both Ferrari and Lamborghini were located. The area had concentration of engineers, designers, and skilled craftsmen with automotive experience. And Lamborghini had the financial resources to fund the venture without depending on outside investors who might constrain his vision. Ferruccio Lamborghini's success in the tractor and heating equipment businesses from 1948 to 1963 provided the financial foundation and manufacturing expertise that made his automotive venture possible. Understanding how he built this industrial empire reveals both his business acumen and his technical capabilities, and shows why he was confident he could challenge Ferrari despite having no automotive manufacturing experience. The immediate post-war period in Italy was characterized by desperate shortages of everything, including agricultural equipment. The war had destroyed or worn out much of Italy's machinery, while agricultural production was essential to feeding the population and rebuilding the economy. Farmers needed tractors urgently, but new tractors were expensive and supply was limited. This created an opportunity for anyone who could provide affordable mechanization. Lamborghini's insight was recognizing that surplus military equipment could be repurposed for agricultural use. The Allied forces and the Italian military had abandoned thousands of vehicles when the war ended. These vehicles could be purchased for minimal cost, sometimes just the cost of hauling them away. The engines, transmissions, axles, and other mechanical components were often in reasonable condition and could be rebuilt and adapted for tractors. The challenge was engineering the conversions and creating products farmers would actually purchase. The technical work involved in these conversions was substantial and required genuine engineering skill. Military vehicle engines were designed for different operating conditions than tractors needed. Military vehicles prioritized speed and maneuverability, while tractors needed low-speed torque and fuel efficiency. Lamborghini had to modify gear ratios, adjust governors, and sometimes rebuild engines to make them suitable for agricultural work. The transmissions had to be adapted to provide the range of speeds farmers needed for different tasks, and the chassis had to be redesigned to accommodate agricultural implements. The early tractors Lamborghini built were crude but functional, and they filled a desperate need at prices farmers could afford. A converted military tractor might cost 200,000 to 300,000 lira, when an imported new tractor cost 500,000 to 700,000 lira. For farmers with limited capital, this price difference meant the difference between mechanizing or continuing to farm with animal power. Lamborghini's tractors allowed thousands of Italian farmers to increase productivity dramatically, expanding the cultivated area they could manage and reducing the brutal physical labor farming had traditionally required. The transition from conversions to original manufacturing occurred as Lamborghini accumulated capital and as the supply of surplus military equipment diminished. By 1949, he had established a proper factory in Cento and was designing tractors from scratch rather than converting military vehicles. The first Lamborghini-designed tractor used a single-cylinder diesel engine, producing 25 horsepower, modest power but adequate for small Italian farms, and far more powerful than animal traction. The design philosophy Lamborghini applied to his tractors emphasized reliability, ease of maintenance, and suitability for Italian conditions. He understood farmers because he came from farming background. He knew they needed equipment that would work day after day during planting and harvest seasons when downtime was costly. He knew they often had to maintain equipment themselves, so designs had to be simple enough that a farmer with basic tools could perform routine maintenance and repairs. And he knew Italian farms were smaller and more diverse than American farms, requiring tractors that were maneuverable and adaptable. The manufacturing processes Lamborghini developed combined modern production methods with the craft traditions of Italian metalworking. The factory in Cento wasn't a fully automated assembly line like American tractor manufacturers used, but rather a series of specialized workshops where skilled workers fabricated components that were then assembled into finished tractors. This approach allowed flexibility to customize tractors for specific customers while maintaining quality control and reasonable production efficiency. The business growth through the 1950s was steady and substantial. Lamborghini Trattori sold 200 tractors in 1950, 500 in 1952, 1,000 in 1954, and over 1,500 by 1956. The company expanded its product line to include different models for different farm sizes and applications. The workforce grew from a few dozen employees in the late 1940s to several hundred by the late 1950s. The factory expanded multiple times to accommodate growing production, and the dealer network spread across Italy and into export markets. The competitive positioning against established tractor manufacturers including Fiat, Landini, and imported brands like Ferguson was based on offering better value, comparable quality at lower prices, or better features at comparable prices. Lamborghini tractors developed reputation for durability and for innovative features including improved transmission designs and better hydraulic systems for operating implements. The company's location in the heart of Italian agricultural country gave it insight into farmer needs that distant manufacturers lacked. The profitability of the tractor business was substantial by the late 1950s and early 1960s. The company was generating annual revenues of several billion lira, with profit margins that provided Lamborghini with personal income in the hundreds of millions of lira annually. This wealth placed him among Italy's richest businessmen and gave him financial independence to pursue other interests without depending on tractor business cash flow. The heating equipment business that Lamborghini established in the mid-1950s diversified his manufacturing base and proved almost as successful as tractors. Post-war Italian construction was booming as cities rebuilt and as economic growth allowed new residential and commercial development. Buildings needed modern heating systems, and oil burners for central heating were replacing traditional coal and wood stoves. Lamborghini saw another opportunity to apply his manufacturing expertise to a growing market. The technical challenges in heating equipment were different from tractors, but drew on similar engineering principles: understanding combustion, fluid dynamics, heat transfer, and mechanical reliability. Lamborghini's engineers designed oil burners that were efficient, reliable, and economically manufactured. The company established distribution through building contractors and heating system installers. Sales grew quickly as Italian construction accelerated through the late 1950s. The air conditioning venture followed similar logic: identify a market need in an emerging technology, apply engineering expertise to create competitive products, establish manufacturing and distribution, and scale production as demand grew. Italian summers were hot, and as prosperity increased, demand for air conditioning in homes, offices, and cars grew rapidly. Lamborghini's air conditioning business focused on commercial and industrial applications, where his experience with heat transfer and mechanical systems gave his company advantages. The management skills Lamborghini developed running multiple businesses simultaneously would prove valuable when he added automobile manufacturing. He learned to delegate operational management to trusted lieutenants while maintaining strategic control. He developed systems for financial planning and control across diverse businesses. He built relationships with suppliers, distributors, and financial institutions that could support expansion. And he cultivated a reputation for engineering excellence and business integrity that made people willing to work with him on new ventures. The wealth Lamborghini accumulated by 1963 was substantial enough to fund an automotive startup without requiring outside investment or borrowing. Estimates suggest he had personal wealth exceeding $10 million in 1963, over $100 million in current terms. This financial cushion meant he could invest millions in developing a car company without risking his core businesses or personal financial security. The ability to self-fund was crucial because it meant Lamborghini answered to no one and could pursue his vision without compromise. The confrontation between Ferruccio Lamborghini and Enzo Ferrari that triggered Lamborghini's decision to build his own sports car has become legendary, though the exact details vary in different accounts. Understanding what happened, why it mattered, and how it reflected the personalities of both men reveals the personal dimension that made the Lamborghini-Ferrari rivalry more than just business competition. The background to the confrontation was Lamborghini's ownership of multiple Ferraris by the early 1960s. He had purchased a Ferrari 250 GT and possibly other models, and drove them enthusiastically while also maintaining them personally when feasible. Lamborghini's approach to car ownership combined genuine appreciation for performance and design with the engineer's instinct to understand how things worked and to identify potential improvements. He didn't just drive his Ferraris, he studied them. The clutch problems Lamborghini experienced were recurring and frustrating. The clutch in his 250 GT would slip or jadder, making smooth engagement difficult and eventually failing completely, requiring replacement. This wasn't an isolated incident, but happened repeatedly, suggesting a fundamental design or quality problem, rather than just bad luck. For someone like Lamborghini, who expected his machinery to work reliably, repeated failures of the same component were unacceptable. The investigation Lamborghini conducted into the clutch failures revealed something that offended him both as an engineer and as a businessman. When he examined the failed clutch, he recognized the components as identical to parts used in his tractors. There was nothing inherently wrong with using tractor clutch components. They were robust and proven. The problem was that Ferrari was charging premium prices for parts that cost very little, and more importantly, that these off-the-shelf components weren't adequate for the 250 GT's power and weight. The recognition that Ferrari was using inadequate cheap components while charging luxury prices was the immediate provocation. But it also confirmed Lamborghini's broader observation that Ferraris were brilliantly engineered in some ways, but surprisingly crude or compromised in others. The engines were magnificent, powerful, responsive, and beautifully constructed, but the rest of the car often felt like an afterthought. The interiors were sparse, the ergonomics were poor, the build quality was inconsistent. Ferrari built race cars that customers could drive on roads, but they weren't refined machines. The decision to confront Enzo Ferrari directly about the clutch problems reflected Lamborghini's personality and his status. He wasn't just a customer complaining to a dealer, he was a successful industrialist and engineer, addressing another industrialist and engineer about a technical problem. Lamborghini expected to be taken seriously, to have his concerns addressed professionally, and to receive acknowledgement that the clutch design was inadequate. He approached the confrontation as a peer conversation between equals. The meeting at Ferrari's factory in Maranello occurred in early 1963, though exact dates aren't documented. Lamborghini drove to Maranello and met with Enzo Ferrari, explaining the clutch problems and showing that Ferrari was using tractor components. He suggested that Ferrari should use higher quality clutches appropriate for the car's performance. The conversation should have been a straightforward technical discussion between two men who understood engineering and manufacturing. Enzo Ferrari's response was dismissive and contemptuous in a way that Lamborghini found intolerable. The most famous version of Ferrari's response is, "The problem is not with the car, but with the driver. You're used to driving tractors, and you don't know how to handle a Ferrari properly." The insult operated on multiple levels. It dismissed Lamborghini's legitimate technical complaint. It suggested Lamborghini lacked the sophistication to appreciate or properly operate a Ferrari. And it invoked Lamborghini's tractor business as evidence of his inferior status. The class dimension of Ferrari's insult was significant in the Italian context of the 1960s. Enzo Ferrari saw himself as an aristocrat of engineering and racing, building cars for the elite and for motorsport competition. Tractors were peasant equipment, agricultural machinery associated with the countryside and farming. By reminding Lamborghini of his tractor business, Ferrari was effectively calling him a peasant who had made money but who didn't belong in the exclusive world of sports cars. This was precisely calculated to wound. The personality clash between the two men made conflict almost inevitable. Enzo Ferrari was famously difficult, arrogant, autocratic, and contemptuous of customers who he believed didn't understand his vision. He saw himself as an artist, creating masterpieces that customers should feel privileged to own. He resented customer complaints and rarely acknowledged that his cars had flaws. His entire approach was that Ferrari built the cars he wanted to build, and customers could buy them or not as they chose. Ferruccio Lamborghini's personality was different, but equally strong. He was self-made, proud of his accomplishments, and accustomed to respect. He had built successful businesses through engineering excellence and customer satisfaction. He believed manufacturers had obligations to customers to deliver quality and value. And he didn't accept that his background in tractors made him inferior to someone who built sports cars. Engineering was engineering, and he was confident in his abilities. The aftermath of the meeting saw Lamborghini leaving Maranello furious and insulted, but also determined to prove Ferrari wrong. The immediate emotional response was anger at Ferrari's arrogance, at being dismissed as a tractor driver, at being treated with contempt. But Lamborghini channeled that anger into determination. If Ferrari believed a tractor manufacturer couldn't build a proper sports car, Lamborghini would prove otherwise. He would build a car that would make Ferrari's dismissal look foolish. The decision made within days or weeks of the confrontation was to establish an automobile company that would compete directly with Ferrari. This wasn't a casual or impulsive choice. Lamborghini had the resources, the engineering knowledge, and the manufacturing capability to make it realistic. He understood the risks and the challenges, but he was convinced the market existed for a different kind of sports car, and that his engineering approach could create something Ferrari hadn't achieved. The motivation combined revenge, pride, and genuine business opportunity. The revenge element was satisfying. Building cars that competed with Ferrari would be the ultimate response to Ferrari's insult. The pride element was important. Lamborghini wanted to prove his capabilities as an engineer and manufacturer. But the business element was also legitimate. He saw opportunities to build better cars than Ferrari was making, and he believed he could create a profitable business doing so. The technical vision Lamborghini developed for his cars was deliberately different from Ferrari's approach. Where Ferrari prioritized ultimate performance and racing pedigree, even at the cost of refinement, Lamborghini would build cars that were equally fast but more comfortable, more reliable, and more civilized. Where Ferrari built race cars adapted for roads, Lamborghini would build road cars with race car performance. The distinction was subtle but significant, defining a different market positioning. The establishment of Automobili Lamborghini in 1963 and the development of the company's first production car required assembling engineering talent, creating manufacturing capability, and designing a car that could credibly compete with Ferrari. Understanding how Lamborghini accomplished this in just months reveals both his organizational ability and his commitment to making Ferrari regret the insult. The facility Lamborghini established for automobile manufacturing was located in Sant'Agata Bolognese, about 25 kilometers from the tractor factory in Cento, and about 25 kilometers from Ferrari's factory in Maranello. The location was strategic. It placed Lamborghini literally and figuratively in Ferrari's neighborhood, making the competitive challenge explicit. The factory building was modern and purpose-built for automobile production, in contrast to Ferrari's more cramped and outdated facilities. Lamborghini wanted to demonstrate from the start that he approached automobile manufacturing as a serious business. The engineering team Lamborghini recruited included some of the most talented designers and engineers in Italian automotive industry. The key hire was Giotto Bizzarini, a gifted engineer who had worked at Ferrari until 1961 and who had designed the legendary Ferrari 250 GTO. Bizzarini had left Ferrari during the Palace Revolt of 1961, when several key Ferrari engineers quit after conflicts with Enzo Ferrari. His availability and his willingness to work for Lamborghini was both lucky timing and poetic justice. Ferrari's treatment of talented engineers created the very pool of expertise Lamborghini could recruit. The other crucial hires included Gianpaolo Dallara, a young engineer with experience at Ferrari and Maserati, who would design Lamborghini's chassis and suspensions; Paolo Stanzani, a talented engineer who would help develop the company's technical direction; and Bob Wallace, a New Zealand test driver and development engineer who would refine the car's dynamic behavior. This team combined Ferrari experience with fresh perspectives, and they shared Lamborghini's vision of building cars that were technically superior to Ferrari. The first car project that began in late 1963 was designated the 350 GTV, with the number indicating 3.5 liters of engine displacement. Lamborghini's directive to his engineers was clear: build a V12 engine and grand touring car that would match Ferrari in performance while exceeding Ferrari in refinement, quality, and reliability. The specification called for a production car, not a race car, meaning it had to be drivable in traffic, comfortable enough for long journeys, and reliable enough that owners wouldn't face constant breakdowns. The engine design Bizzarini created was spectacular and deliberately challenged Ferrari's V12 supremacy. The 3.5-liter V12 used a 60-degree cylinder bank angle, 4 overhead camshafts, and produced 360 horsepower, equal to or better than contemporary Ferrari engines. But Bizzarini designed the engine for smoothness and refinement, rather than just peak power. The crankshaft was balanced to minimize vibration. The valve train was designed for quiet operation, and the engine was intended to be reliable and maintainable, rather than requiring constant rebuilding like race engines. The technical innovations in the Lamborghini V12 included features that Ferrari engines didn't have. The engine used a dry sump lubrication system that improved oil control and allowed lower engine mounting for better center of gravity. The carburation system was designed for smooth response across the rev range, rather than just peak power. And the engine was designed to tolerate the kind of use owners would subject it to: sitting in traffic, being started cold, running at varying speeds, without requiring the careful warm-up and cool-down that Ferrari engines demanded. The chassis and suspension design that Dallara created used modern engineering principles rather than the more traditional approach Ferrari employed. The chassis was a steel platform with sophisticated independent suspension at all 4 corners, designed using calculations and testing rather than intuition and experience. The suspension geometry was optimized for both handling and ride comfort, a difficult balance that Ferrari often sacrificed in favor of track performance. The brakes were powerful disc units at all 4 wheels, adequate for the car's performance. The styling commission went to Franco Scaglione, a noted designer who created a body that was dramatic and beautiful, but also somewhat impractical for a production car. The 350 GTV prototype featured aggressive lines, a low roofline, and details that would be difficult to manufacture and maintain. When the car was shown at the 1963 Turin Auto Show, it generated enormous interest and favorable press coverage. The automotive journalists who saw it recognized that Lamborghini had created something genuinely impressive. The decision to revise the design for production reflected Lamborghini's commitment to building practical cars rather than just show pieces. While the 350 GTV prototype was stunning, Lamborghini and his engineers recognized that the design needed modification for production. They hired Carrozzeria Touring to redesign the body with more conventional proportions, better visibility, and easier manufacturing. The resulting 350 GT production car was less dramatic than the prototype, but more usable and better built. The production planning and manufacturing setup took through 1964 as Lamborghini prepared to build cars for customers. Unlike Ferrari, which built cars largely by hand with significant variation between examples, Lamborghini wanted more consistent manufacturing with better quality control. The factory was organized with separate areas for engine building, chassis fabrication, body construction, paint, and final assembly. Each area had quality control checkpoints and specifications that had to be met before work could proceed. The supplier relationships Lamborghini established drew on his experience manufacturing tractors and heating equipment. He knew how to select reliable suppliers, how to specify quality requirements, and how to manage supply chains. For the automobile business, he needed suppliers for everything from steel and aluminum for the chassis to leather and wood for the interior. Many suppliers were the same companies that supplied Ferrari, but Lamborghini often negotiated better terms because of his business reputation and purchasing power. The pricing strategy for the 350 GT positioned it slightly below Ferrari, but above mass-market sports cars. The 350 GT would sell for approximately 4.2 million lira, when contemporary Ferraris sold for 4.5 to 5.5 million lira. This pricing reflected Lamborghini's positioning, offering comparable or better performance and quality at slightly lower cost. The pricing also had to cover the substantial costs of hand-building cars in small quantities while generating profit to justify the investment. The initial production in 1964 and 1965 was limited to about 120 examples of the 350 GT, making it a genuine production car rather than just a prototype exercise, but not yet achieving the scale that would make the business sustainable long-term. Each car took weeks to build as workers fabricated and assembled components by hand. The quality was high and the cars performed as promised. They were as fast as Ferraris, but smoother, quieter, and more comfortable. The customer reception was enthusiastic among buyers who appreciated the Lamborghini's different character. The first Lamborghini customers were often people who had owned Ferraris and who wanted similar performance without Ferrari's temperamental behavior. They appreciated that the Lamborghini started reliably, that the clutch was light and smooth, that the interior was comfortable, and that the car could be driven in traffic without constant clutch modulation and overheating concerns. The automotive press reviews were favorable and recognized that Lamborghini had achieved his goal of challenging Ferrari. Journalists praised the engine's power and smoothness, the chassis' balance and composure, and the build quality that exceeded Ferrari's. Some reviewers suggested that while Ferraris might have more character and racing pedigree, the Lamborghini was a better car for actually driving. This was exactly the market positioning Lamborghini wanted. The Lamborghini Miura, introduced in 1966, represented a dramatic escalation of Lamborghini's challenge to Ferrari and established Lamborghini as not just a Ferrari competitor, but potentially a Ferrari superior. Understanding how the Miura was conceived, developed, and received reveals both the ambition of Lamborghini's engineering team and the impact the car had on the exotic car market. The genesis of the Miura came from Lamborghini's young engineers, Dallara, Stanzani, and Wallace, who wanted to create something more radical than the 350 GT Grand Tourer. They proposed building a mid-engine car with the V12 mounted transversely behind the passenger compartment. This configuration was used in racing, but had never been used in a production road car. The mid-engine layout would provide better weight distribution and handling than the traditional front-engine configuration, potentially delivering performance advantages Ferrari's front-engine cars couldn't match. The engineering challenges of the transverse mid-engine layout were substantial and required innovative solutions. Mounting the engine sideways meant the transmission had to be integrated with the engine rather than located separately. The driveline had to transfer power from the transversely mounted engine to longitudinal drive shafts. The cooling system had to work in a compact engine bay with limited airflow, and the chassis had to be extremely rigid to handle the forces of the mid-mounted engine and suspension without flexing. The chassis design Dallara created was revolutionary, a steel monocoque platform where the body structure was the chassis, providing exceptional rigidity at low weight. This was aircraft-style construction applied to automobiles, and it was years ahead of what Ferrari or most other manufacturers were doing. The monocoque provided the stiffness necessary to control the mid-engine's behavior, while keeping weight low enough that the car could achieve extraordinary performance. The mechanical design integration required by Lamborghini's engineers was extraordinary. The V12 engine was tilted to reduce overall height. The transmission and differential were combined into a single unit attached to the engine. The suspension pickup points were integrated into the monocoque structure, and everything had to fit into a package low enough and compact enough that the car could have a dramatic low profile, while still accommodating 2 occupants. The styling commission went to Bertone, and specifically to a young designer named Marcello Gandini, who would create what many consider the most beautiful automobile ever designed. Gandini's design for the Miura was breathtaking. Low, wide, sensual, with flowing curves and dramatic details, including the distinctive eyelash-like structures around the headlights. The car looked fast standing still, and the proportions were perfect in a way that few cars before or since have achieved. The development process was fast by automotive standards, from concept to running prototype in about 18 months, with production beginning in 1966. This rapid development reflected both the engineering team's talent and Lamborghini's willingness to take risks. The prototype, shown at the 1966 Geneva Motor Show, was just a rolling chassis, but the response was so enthusiastic that Lamborghini committed to production even before the car was fully developed. The production Miura P400 that began reaching customers in late 1966 and early 1967 delivered performance that exceeded even optimistic expectations. The 3.9-liter V12 produced 350 horsepower, driving a car that weighed only 1,300 kilograms. The result was 600 miles per hour in about 6 seconds, and a top speed exceeding 170 miles per hour, making the Miura the fastest production car in the world. No Ferrari could match these performance numbers, and certainly no Ferrari could match them while offering the Miura's stunning appearance. The driving experience the Miura delivered was different from any previous road car. The mid-engine layout meant the car pivoted around the driver, responding to steering inputs with immediacy that front-engine cars couldn't match. The chassis rigidity meant the suspension could be precisely controlled, delivering handling that was both predictable and extraordinarily capable. And the engine behind the driver created a mechanical soundtrack that was intoxicating. The V12 howling inches behind the occupants' heads. The quality and refinement issues that plagued early Miuras reflected the challenges of bringing such an ambitious design to production quickly. The cars could be difficult to drive at low speeds, with heavy controls and temperamental behavior. High-speed stability was marginal, because the front end would become light at very high speeds. Heat from the mid-mounted engine made the interior uncomfortable, and build quality varied as workers learned to build this complex car. These issues would be addressed in later versions, but early Miuras required tolerance from owners. The market reception was extraordinary, despite the Miura's quirks. Wealthy enthusiasts wanted the car desperately, willing to pay premium prices and accept waiting lists for the privilege of owning the world's most exotic automobile. The Miura became the car celebrities and royalty purchased to demonstrate their wealth and taste. Film stars, musicians, business tycoons, and even some royalty-owned Miuras, giving the brand cachet that exceeded even Ferrari's. The press coverage treated the Miura as a sensation and a revelation. Automotive journalists called it the most beautiful car ever built, the fastest production car in the world, and a technical tour de force that established new standards for exotic automobiles. Road tests documented the performance and praised the driving experience while acknowledging the practical limitations. The overall assessment was that Lamborghini had created something genuinely special that surpassed what Ferrari was offering. The Ferrari response to the Miura was notable for what Ferrari didn't do. Enzo Ferrari didn't immediately develop a mid-engine competitor, apparently believing that front-engine cars were superior for road use, even if mid-engine was advantageous for racing. Ferrari continued building front-engine V12 Grand Tourers like the 275 GTB and later the 365 GTB for Daytona, which were beautiful and fast, but which couldn't match the Miura's performance or exotic presence. Ferrari's eventual mid-engine production cars wouldn't arrive until the 1970s with the 365 GT4 BB. The production numbers remained limited by the hand-built nature of the cars. Lamborghini built about 475 Miuras of all versions between 1966 and 1973. This limited production maintained exclusivity and also reflected the reality that the market for $20,000 sports cars, roughly $200,000 in current dollars, was inherently small. Each car took weeks to build and required skilled craftsmen to fabricate and assemble the complex components. The evolution through Miura variants, the P400, P400S, and P400-0SV, addressed early issues while increasing performance. The P400S, introduced in 1969, had improved build quality and slightly more power. The P400-0SV, introduced in 1971, had significantly more power, 385 horsepower, wider rear track for better stability, and numerous detail improvements that made the car more usable. The SV is considered the ultimate Miura, combining stunning performance with improved refinement. The legacy of the Miura extended far beyond the 475 examples built. The car established the mid-engine layout as the standard configuration for exotic sports cars. Virtually every supercar since the Miura has used mid-engine design. The Miura proved that Lamborghini could not just compete with Ferrari, but could lead the industry in innovation and design. And the Miura cemented Lamborghini's reputation as a serious manufacturer rather than just a wealthy dilettante pursuing a hobby. The competitive dynamics between Lamborghini and Ferrari from 1966 through the early 1970s reveal how Lamborghini's different approach to exotic car manufacturing created genuine market competition and forced Ferrari to evolve. Understanding this competition shows both companies' strengths and how different philosophies about sports cars created distinct brand identities. The market segmentation that emerged positioned Ferrari and Lamborghini as serving slightly different customer preferences, even though both built exotic high-performance cars. Ferrari remained focused on racing heritage and on cars that prioritized ultimate performance even at the cost of comfort and refinement. Ferrari customers bought into the racing mythology and accepted temperamental behavior as part of owning a thoroughbred machine. Lamborghini targeted customers who wanted similar performance but with better daily usability and without the racing pretensions. The customer profiles diverged accordingly. Ferrari buyers tended to be enthusiasts who had often owned multiple sports cars and who valued racing pedigree and driving involvement above comfort. Lamborghini buyers tended to be successful businessmen who wanted exotic cars that could serve as grand tourers for long trips while also delivering supercar performance. Both groups were wealthy, but their priorities and sensibilities differed. The pricing strategies reflected these different market positions. Ferraris generally commanded premium prices based on racing reputation and exclusivity. Lamborghinis were typically priced slightly lower than comparable Ferraris, offering better value while maintaining exotic car prestige. The pricing difference was modest, perhaps 0.15%, but it signaled Lamborghini's positioning as the more practical choice. The production volume showed Lamborghini remaining significantly smaller than Ferrari, but growing steadily. Ferrari was producing roughly 1,500 cars annually in the late 1960s across various models. Lamborghini was producing perhaps 200 cars annually. This smaller scale meant Lamborghini was a niche within the exotic car niche, but the company was profitable and sustainable at this volume, because of the high margins on hand-built exotic cars. The product line expansion at Lamborghini created a portfolio that paralleled Ferrari's structure. The 400 GT2 Plus 2, introduced in 1966, was Lamborghini's answer to Ferrari's 2 Plus 2 Grand Tourers, offering 4 seats, though the rear seats were cramped, for customers who needed occasional additional passenger capacity. The Islero and Jarama that followed in the late 1960s and early 1970s continued the front-engine Grand Tourer lineage, while the Miura served as the flagship mid-engine exotic. The quality reputation Lamborghini developed became a significant competitive advantage. Lamborghinis were generally better built than Ferraris, with tighter panel gaps, better interior materials, and more consistent assembly quality. This reflected Lamborghini's manufacturing background and his insistence on production standards that Ferrari's more artisanal approach didn't match. Customers noticed and appreciated that Lamborghinis felt more like luxury cars, while Ferraris felt more like race cars. The reliability comparison also favored Lamborghini, though both brands required more maintenance than conventional cars. Lamborghini engines were designed to tolerate road use and didn't require the constant rebuilding that Ferrari racing-derived engines often needed. Lamborghini electrical systems were more robust, and Lamborghini-used production car components were appropriate, rather than Ferrari's tendency to develop custom solutions for everything. The result was that Lamborghini spent more time being driven and less time in repair shops. The dealer network development proceeded differently for both companies. Ferrari had established dealer networks in major markets through the 1950s and early 1960s, giving it distribution advantages that Lamborghini had to build from scratch. Lamborghini appointed dealers carefully, selecting partners with luxury car experience and requiring them to maintain proper facilities and trained technicians. The network grew gradually but never matched Ferrari's reach. The motorsport question highlighted fundamental philosophical differences. Ferrari's entire identity was built on racing success. The production cars existed partly to fund the racing program. Enzo Ferrari cared more about Grand Prix racing than about production car sales. Lamborghini deliberately avoided racing, believing it was expensive, distracted from production car development, and wasn't necessary for building desirable road cars. This contrarian position differentiated Lamborghini, but also meant missing the marketing benefits racing success could provide. The corporate culture differences were stark. Ferrari was autocratic, centered on Enzo Ferrari's vision and whims, with constant internal politics and periodic purges of senior staff. Lamborghini was more stable and collegial, with Ferruccio Lamborghini empowering talented engineers and maintaining a professional business environment. The culture differences affected both the products. Lamborghini's reflected collaborative engineering, while Ferrari's reflected Enzo Ferrari's personal vision. And the company's ability to retain talent, the financial stability comparison revealed advantages on both sides. Ferrari had longer operating history, established dealer networks, and racing success that generated publicity. But Ferrari was also financially stretched, with racing expenses consuming resources, and with Enzo Ferrari's management creating inefficiencies. Lamborghini had stronger balance sheet, more modern facilities, and better manufacturing efficiency. But Lamborghini lacked Ferrari's brand heritage and market recognition. The crisis that would eventually undermine Lamborghini's independence was already emerging by the early 1970s. Dependence on Ferruccio Lamborghini's other businesses for financial support, and vulnerability to economic downturns that might affect the exotic car market. The tractor and heating equipment businesses that had funded Lamborghini's automotive venture faced increasing competition and margin pressure. If those businesses weakened, the automotive company would struggle to fund operations and development independently. The oil crisis of 1973, 1974, and the subsequent recession devastated the exotic car market and exposed both companies' vulnerabilities. Sales collapsed as fuel prices spiked, and economic uncertainty made luxury purchases seem frivolous. Ferrari survived because of diversified ownership and racing sponsorships that provided revenue beyond car sales. Lamborghini struggled more severely because the company depended entirely on car sales, and because Ferruccio Lamborghini's other businesses were also suffering. The outcome by the mid-1970s was that Lamborghini had proven definitively that a tractor manufacturer could build cars that competed with Ferrari. Indeed, in some ways exceeded Ferrari, but the financial pressures would eventually force Ferruccio Lamborghini to sell the company in 1974, ending his personal involvement in the automotive business he had created from spite and determination. The company would continue under various owners, maintaining the brand and developing new models, but the founder's direct influence ended. Ferruccio Lamborghini's creation of Automobili Lamborghini from 1963 to 1974 as a direct challenge to Enzo Ferrari and Ferrari SPA demonstrates how personal motivation combined with engineering talent and financial resources can create genuine market competition even against established dominance. The story begins with an insult, Ferrari's dismissive response to Lamborghini's legitimate clutch complaint, and evolves into a successful business that forced Ferrari to improve while establishing a brand that has endured for over 60 years. The technical achievements Lamborghini accomplished were substantial and genuine. The V12 engine that debuted in the 350 GT matched Ferrari's engines in performance while exceeding them in refinement and reliability. The Miura's mid-engine design revolutionized exotic car architecture and established the configuration that nearly all supercars have since adopted. And the consistent build quality and attention to grand touring usability created products that were arguably better than Ferraris for customers who actually drove their exotic cars. The market impact was significant even though Lamborghini never approached Ferrari's production volumes. Lamborghini proved that customers would buy exotic cars from a new manufacturer if the products were sufficiently compelling. The competition forced Ferrari to eventually adopt mid-engine design and to improve build quality, and Lamborghini established an alternative brand identity for customers who wanted exotic performance without Ferrari's racing-focused philosophy. The business challenges Lamborghini faced reflected the difficulties of competing in a tiny, luxury market segment with enormous capital requirements and cyclical demand. The hand-built nature of exotic cars meant production volumes would always be limited, preventing the economies of scale that make manufacturing sustainable. The dependence on wealthy customers' discretionary spending made the business vulnerable to economic downturns, and the constant need for new model development to maintain market relevance required ongoing investment that small production volumes struggled to justify. Ferruccio Lamborghini's personal satisfaction at proving Enzo Ferrari wrong must have been substantial, even as the business challenges eventually forced him to sell the company. He had demonstrated that he understood sports cars as well as Ferrari did, that his engineering approach was valid, and that a tractor manufacturer could indeed build Ferraris that were arguably superior. The vindication of creating the Miura, widely considered one of the greatest automobiles ever built, represented the ultimate response to Ferrari's insult. The legacy includes not just the Lamborghini company that continues producing exotic cars, but also the specific technical and design innovations that Lamborghini introduced. Mid-engine exotic car design became standard because the Miura proved the concept. The emphasis on build quality and daily usability in exotic cars reflects Lamborghini's approach, and the recognition that exotic cars could be engineered systematically rather than relying entirely on racing-derived intuition came partly from Lamborghini's more methodical approach. The irony is that both Ferrari and Lamborghini faced similar challenges despite their rivalry: small production volumes, high costs, cyclical demand, and vulnerability to economic disruption. Both companies would eventually require outside investment and ownership to survive and thrive. Ferrari became part of Fiat in 1969 when Enzo Ferrari sold 50% to the automotive giant. Lamborghini went through multiple owners starting when Ferruccio Lamborghini sold in 1974. Both brands survived and prospered under corporate ownership that provided financial stability their founders couldn't.